Language is one of the most significant tools in human creation. And when you think about what it means to use language, as in, aside from the meaning of the word I'm choosing, what is actually going on? Well, a couple things. You're literally vibrating your chest and forming shapes with your mouth, and the vibrations shoot out in the shape of whatever vowel, and then literally the exact amount of air that you push is pounding on someone's eardrum at that frequency, to the point where their brain is able to discern the sound well enough to understand what you're meaning. Which is pretty fucking crazy. I know it's a basic concept, but like, who would think about it? Why think about that? So, language is a tool in the sense that if you are in a foreign country and you are hungry and you don't know how to say food in that language, you don't have the tool that's required to get you something to eat. You know what I mean? And not only is language a tool, language can be a weapon, and language can be a prison. If you are so caught up in your own thoughts that you are languaging every single thing that happens to you and analyzing it in your mind, you're missing out on real experience. And language probably fills up at least 10 or 15% of our daily intake. Most of what we hear in a day are words. And so we become trapped in this narrative that's going on, and we don't even know what the purpose of it is. Now, the problem with language is that somewhere along the line, people realized that they could manipulate it to take more power. If this thing is mine and you know it's not yours, what do? You redefine the language. You say, well, is that thing really yours? What is that thing actually? My stuff is like this. And if someone is beating up an old man because that old man, said, the color orange is for stupid people. Basically, the person who's beating him up is metaphorically not on the same level of understanding of language. Because this is not the best example, but what I'm alluding to is that in the modern political era, when you point something out that somebody did and say, oh, well, this is wrong because X, Y, Z, they will argue the definitions of X, Y, and Z. They will use semantics and redefine the language just to tell you that the thing that's happening isn't fucking going on, or it's okay that it's going on because it's something else. Language is a tool in the sense that we as human beings are basically in a jungle that we were put in without a map. And so we use language as a tool to try to figure out our bearings. We say, what time is it? Oh, it's morning time. Well, morning time means this. And then we go off on a whole thing about what words mean and what to expect in a situation where that word is being used to describe things. The language you use determines the level of precision by which things, or at which things, are described. And if you don't have the proper language to describe things, the message is going to get lost in translation, which is why storytelling is such an important facet of human culture. I mean, you have things like syntax, context, thinking about the plot of the story to understand the details, thinking back on things that happened before, and predicting what might happen in the future. Stories are a great way to get your brain to think outside of the box. And when you do, you start pulling in experiences from outside of the box. You literally attract the kind of things that you focus on. Basically, if we didn't have language, I think that we would not have evolved into modern humans as fast as we did. Because without language, what is there to really think about? Stuff? Physical stuff? Well, if you don't have the questions, what is that? Or where is that? Or what does that smell like? Then how are you going to wonder what it smells like? And so each word is basically like a loop within the world line of human beings experiencing nature. So if the first word you learn is tree, within your mind you have categorized and can now label and can now compartmentalize all trees based on the experience you had when you associated that word with what it represents. And so they're like progress points, they're little loops. And the world line of your personal development and journey through life is using them as checkpoints, progress points, and then every time it re-updates, it says, oh, well, now I have this new information, and so we can move even further forward. And so when you actually think about what words mean, you have a whole different picture of what's going on than if you just understand them based on, what the definitions are What I mean is, thinking along with a story is going to connect you to it in a way that allows the details to make more sense. People spend a lot of time choosing which words to use in a certain situation. It can be a really nuanced thing. And if you don't understand how the language that you're using works syntactically, you're going to say things that throw off the